You know Thomas Edison, you probably don't know the man who actually invented most of what Edison got credit for. That's the point. Nikola Tesla was arguably the greatest electrical mind of the 19th century. He could visualize an entire machine in his head, dimensions, tolerances, mechanical stresses, and build it without a single drawing. Thomas Edison couldn't do what Tesla did, so he hired Tesla, and then the work was done. Edison took everything, the patents, the recognition, the legacy, and then Tesla died broke and alone in a hotel room, while Edison died one of the most celebrated inventors in the American history. This law is about leverage, not laziness. Power grows when you conserve your energy and time while positioning yourself as the source of results. In 1884, Nikola Tesla arrived in New York from Serbia with 4 cents in his pocket, a recommendation letter, and a mind that would eventually give the world alternating current, the electrical system that powers almost every building on Earth today. He went to work for Thomas Edison. Edison gave him a problem. The direct current motors and generators running his power stations were inefficient, breaking down constantly, bleeding money. He told Tesla fix them. Tesla worked nearly around the clock, redesigning Edison's machines. When the work was done complete, the improvement was extraordinary. Tesla went to Edison to collect the promised reward, $50,000, a fortune in 1884. Edison laughed. He told Tesla the offer had been a joke, that Tesla simply didn't understand American humor. Tesla quit. He went on developing alternating current, a system far superior than Edison's direct current, and eventually partnered with George Westinghouse. The two systems went to war. History called it the War of Currents. Edison lost, but here's what makes this story the perfect example of Law 7. Despite losing the battle, losing the technical battle, Edison won the historical one. Edison took credit for many inventions developed by the employees and teams working under him. In the end, his helpers were forgotten and he was remembered. We have Edison's name on thousands of patents. We have his face in every history book. We have his name on the company that became General Electric. Tesla has a car named after him by someone else. This is what Greene wants you to understand about this law and why it is more relevant today than it has ever been. Use the wisdom, knowledge and legwork of other people to further your own cause. Not only will such assistance save you valuable time and energy, it will give you godlike aura of efficiency and speed. In the end, your helpers will be forgotten and you will be remembered. Never do yourself what others can do for you. The person at the top of any organization is almost never the most technically skilled person in it. They are the best at directing, packaging, and presenting the skills of others. Edison understood this instinctively. He built a laboratory, Menlo Park, and staffed it some of the most brilliant minds of his era. He called it an invention factory. He positioned himself as the visionary. While his teams did the technical work, he controlled the narrative while others built the product. The orchestra plays the music. The conductor takes the bow. That is not an accident. That is a strategy. This is Law 7 of the 48 Laws of Power. Get others to do the work, but always take the credit. Greene is careful to add one essential nuance here, the most summarized maze. Know when letting other people share the credit furthers your cause. That is not a rigid rule. It is a positioning strategy. Sometimes sharing the credit publicly makes you appear magnanimous and builds loyalty. The key is that you always control who gets credit, when, and how much. The person who controls the credit controls the story, and the person who controls the story controls how history remembers them. Tesla invented future. Edison owned the story of it. One of them is on the $1 bill in Serbia. The other built one of the largest corporations in American history. You decide which outcome represents power. You see this law operating in plain sight everywhere you look. The CEO, whose name is on the product, the engineering team built in 3 years of overnight shifts. The music producer, whose credit appears before the artist's name on every track. The senior partner, whose signature closes the deal that a junior associate spent 6 months building. In the grand theater of social and professional dynamics, it is not only about what you achieve, but about how others perceive your role in those achievements. This law is also the greatest and clearest explanation for why the most talented people in almost every industry are rarely the richest ones. Talent executes power positions, and the person who positions themselves as the origin of great work, whether or not they did it, accumulates the reputation, the opportunities, and the wealth that follow. Tesla was the most talented man in the room. Edison owned the room. That was Law 7. Tomorrow, Law 8. About the single most powerful position you can hold in any negotiation, any relationships, any conflicts. The position of others coming to you.